It's 6 o'clock on Friday the 3rd of February. Good morning, this is Today with Amal Rajan and Justin Webb.
Closing statements will be heard in the long-running inquiry into the contaminated blood scandal of the 1970s and 80s. The hearings have examined why tens of thousands of people contracted HIV or hepatitis C after being given unscreened blood products and transfusions to treat conditions such as haemophilia. The inquiry has led to interim compensation payments of £100,000 for survivors and widows. Richard Warwick was among those infected as a child. He explained what he wanted to see next.
An apology, a meaningful, wholesome apology, not just something that's whispered over the dispatch box, but a proper, meaningful apology to all the victims and the families of those that have lost loved ones and have suffered for so many decades.
It's 7 o'clock on Friday the 3rd of February.
Closing statements will be heard in the long-running inquiry into the contaminated blood scandal of the 1970s and 80s. The hearings have examined why tens of thousands of people contracted HIV or hepatitis C after being given unscreened blood products and transfusions to treat conditions such as haemophilia. The inquiry has led to interim compensation payments of £100,000 for survivors and widows. Sue Threakall's husband was among the victims. She says lessons need to be learned.
I'd like to know that proper measures are put in place to make sure that this can't happen again. It was cataclysmic, and it just ripped families apart, including mine. It's just sad, isn't it? Because it's this life that I was living perfectly happily, and then everything went.
BBC News at 9 o'clock. A long-running inquiry into the contaminated blood scandal of the 1970s and 80s will hear its final evidence today. It's thought tens of thousands of people were infected with HIV and hepatitis over 2 decades after being given a contaminated drug or blood transfusion. Elaine Huxley, who contracted hepatitis C after a transfusion, reflected on what the day means to her.
It's so sad. I'm dreading today. I really am. It's going to be so emotional. But I'm hoping that we'll have a huge apology, justice, and can put things to rest.
BBC News at midday. Closing statements are being given to the long-running inquiry into the infected blood scandal of the 1970s and 80s. The inquiry is looking into the circumstances that led to tens of thousands of people contracting HIV and hepatitis after they were given contaminated blood. Since 2018, it's heard testimony from more than 300 witnesses. Colin Smith's son died at the age of 7 after being infected with HIV during treatment for the rare blood condition Hemophilia. He's demanding compensation.
It's the only recompense we're going to get, because nobody's going to be able to account for this. They're politicians, they'll find a way around it. It's been a 30-odd year struggle. But yes, I'm not ashamed of the fact that it ruined our lives. It cost me my job. We've had to move home. It's cost us lots of relationships with friends.
Further recommendations on compensation are expected when the inquiry publishes its final report in the summer.